Scott hey here. Been a while since I've rambled. A good while, matter of fact. Sorry if you were expecting a fully fledged video coming out sometime soon. I personally am disappointed, believe me. I'm talking to the asshole who's taking forever to make these videos come out. We're gonna have a stern talking, but in the meantime, you and I are gonna have a little chit-chat. Fuck, I sound like my dad. So, hi. Creativity, right? Yeah, it's a real bitch. So, I'm not gonna really sugarcoat it in any way, shape, or form. You saw the title. I crashed into a floor. You know where I'm getting at here. Productivity is really difficult to get a hold of. Creativity is something that I kind of consider almost a blessing and a curse, because you have all these fancy ideas and these really wonderful executions in your mind, but you can't execute any of them at all, because it feels really difficult to do so, if that makes sense. Lately, I've had this nagging voice, or kind of nagging thoughts, so to speak, in the back of my head, kind of telling me when I'm in the middle of doing anything that isn't during working hours to go ahead and, do something productive. Like, hey, go do a drawing, go make a video, go do this, that, and the third. And it's really rough because, they're right. You should go ahead and totally do something that you want to do. I mean, realistically, if you love something, it's not going to be hard for you to do, except in a really fucked up way, it is really difficult for you to do it. It almost feels like a second job, which obviously a hobby shouldn't feel like. But when it gets to a point where you're just sitting there thinking, oh, wow, I sure do love not working, and then you're doing whatever else, and then you're staring at the project you've got in the background going, man, I really should do that, but I kind of don't want to. And you do that what feels like almost 100 times, it really starts to kind of take a toll on you. I have some time off. I've been working way more hours at my job lately, so I haven't had a lot of time to myself and to actually think. And I haven't really had a lot of time to work on projects that I have been trying to get myself to do. And it's really rough because it's this sort of endless cycle I feel that a lot of people fall into, me included, and including a couple of my other friends. And that cycle being, you go to work, you work and go, oh man, I can't wait to do X thing that's, productive or creative when I get home. And then you get home and then you don't do it at all. Or you procrastinate the whole time and then, oh, look at the time, I gotta go to bed, gotta work in the morning. And then the whole cycle repeats. It's really rough because you want to do those things, you just don't have the energy. But you can't really expect the energy to find you, and that makes things, ironically, feel even worse. Again, it's an endless, very, very vicious cycle. So what do you do to break it? One thing I remember hearing about way back when was the 15-minute rule. You sit your ass down, and whatever it is that you're trying to do, you do it for 15 minutes, hell, maybe even less. And depending on how it goes, you lock in, and you potentially go even further than 15 minutes. Alternatively, you may just really not want to do it at all, and you give up. But the idea is that you get the ball rolling. And getting the ball rolling is the hardest part of trying to get work done. It's the most difficult thing. Sisyphus was able to keep rolling the boulder up the hill because, at least it got started. Granted, he drops the ball, and surprise, surprise, it's really hard for him to keep moving the boulder, or to start doing it, when it weighs, like 10 tons. So, again, I don't want to give advice that I struggle to follow, but I'm gonna do it anyways, because fuck it, my channel, my rules. Try it. 10, 15 minutes, give or take, see how it goes, see if it gets you anywhere. It's better to half-ass something than to not do it at all, and I can't really pretend to be wishy-washy and say everything's gonna be okay, but sometimes you really just gotta grit your teeth and just say fuck it, and focus up and do what you have to do, and it's really difficult. And ironically, a year ago, when I was at probably my lowest point, I was depressed, diagnosed mildly to be fair, I was going through a really rough time. I wasn't enjoying anything. I was losing a lot of my best friends. They were all moving out of town. I had one really good friend of mine that I liked a lot, but I couldn't tell if I was an annoyance to them because she didn't have the best communication skills. And I kind of failed on my part to communicate with her as well about my issues and, how I was feeling. So, because of that, in a weird way, it forced me to kind of do everything I could to try and get that joy back. I started going to the gym, I started working on art way more, and just keeping myself busy. I didn't work as much back then, but having a new job I actually liked certainly contributed to my mental health. It just took a while for it to actually, start working. And a year later now, after I had gotten through the toughest times that I probably had for a good while, I'm now actually doing pretty okay mentally, but I feel oddly empty, if that makes sense. Like I'm almost complacent, the fact that I'm not doing anything important anymore. But I'm not. I have those thoughts and those voices that tell me I should do something. I should do art. I should do a video. And the worst part is, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't even understand why I can't do it at all. Like, realistically, what is it you're afraid of? And if you can't answer that, then it becomes even worse. Because I like doing these. I like talking. I like making videos and doing art. So then why is it difficult for me to do it in the first place? And I think it's the way that you perceive it. You perceive it as work. You perceive it as a second job. And it's really difficult to get yourself going on that. Because realistically, do you really want to work a second job unpaid? Do you really want to waste time working on something that may never pan out? Lord knows I've made a lot of different pieces of art and a lot of different videos that are on the back burner that I have never released. Because I just don't think they're good enough, or because they're not finished. And because they just take so long to make, I start to doubt if it's even worth the time I poured into them. If the time I spent making them will match the quality when it's finished. And that's the thing. You kind of just hit a point where you're in a loop or a rut. I hang out with a lot of people in a Discord server, a couple actually, of folks that are either a little younger or around my age. And they all kind of have that same feeling too. And it's kind of what encouraged me to make this kind of talk in the first place. Realistically, I've really been wanting to sit down and just talk at a microphone while I'm playing a game and just ramble a little bit. Just yap, as the kids say. God, I'm 20, and I know that's not old in the grand scheme of things, but fuck me, with the stuff I've been hearing lately, it certainly feels like it. I don't really use TikTok or I got Instagram and Snapchat mixed up. I don't typically use Instagram or TikTok. I don't even have TikTok installed, let alone an account. I just don't have any interest. So I get a lot of the up-to-date buzzwords from my friends who are like 17 to 18, and hearing the shit that they just listen to is kind of hysterical and just really funny, but it certainly is not helping my aging complex, that's for certain, but you know what, it's whatever. But I'm getting on a tangent. Getting back on track, though. They all generally feel the same, and that friend I was telling you about who I was having a rough time with, that I wasn't able to communicate properly with because she wasn't communicating with me, she is now my best friend, and we hang out, and we watched the entirety of Arcane, waited for the second season to come out, spoilers, it sucked ass, and now we're watching Evangelion, and just chilling, eating chips, and I went to her place for the first time a couple months back, and it is probably some of the best highlights of my year so far. And despite that I'm in a better place mentally, and that I have a better foundation and a good friend that I'm very happy to have, I still get this kind of hollow feeling. And a lot of my friends feel that too. And I think it just has to do with the fact that it almost feels like we've peaked everywhere right now. You have stuff like Deltarune coming out, you have these amazing products and projects being made by these passionate teams who have spent years in the underground working on their highest, most biggest passion project, really. And then realistically, where are you supposed to start? Where are you supposed to compare? Where do you start and where do you go from there? There's been a lot of times where I sit down and think to myself, I really want to make a video on current interest. But the current interest is already being dominated by thousands of people. Realistically, what am I going to be able to do that makes my stuff stand out? And it's not even I want a lot of people to watch my videos and have a lot of eyes on me. Realistically, I don't know how far this video is going to go. YouTube has been recommending very small channels, which is a very nice feature that I appreciate, so who knows, maybe this video will hit someone's feed, but I am really not betting on it. It's very unlikely this video will pop off. It's more for myself, for clear of mind and for my friends, because I know I've got a couple of them that actually regularly keep an eye out for an upload. But I see a lot of people tackle something, and then it hits to a point where I don't want to do what they're doing. I want to do something unique, but I can't think of anything unique. I know I don't really have anything in particular that makes me stand out. People have been in the business for years. I can't bring anything new to the table, even if I really put my 2 brain cells together and try to generate some spark of passion. And it almost discourages me in a really, really sad way. And you know what? You gotta really get over it. It's really rough. I honestly feel super bad making this video in the first place, because God knows there are so many people who just talk. And I've been seeing this genre of video even making the rounds lately. So, frankly, this is me just throwing my hat into the ring, and hoping that this hits and finds a couple of people that maybe resonate with the idea to a certain extent. So, the bulk of this video isn't really an answer. I'm not smart enough to come up with one. I know I pitched my general, guidance, so to speak, but Lord knows that's not going to work with everybody. Even I struggle to follow it. So the bulk of this is generally just, you're not alone in how you feel, and that you should do what you want to do regardless of a fear that holds you back, whether it be a failure or apathy or what have you. I know it's ironic that it's coming from me because I'm struggling to do even the most basic things, but shared suffering is half of the misery. Sharing the joy is double, as I believe they say. And frankly, it makes things feel a lot less shitty when you know that there's other people who are suffering. Not in a, sadistic manner, so to speak. Just, at least I'm not alone, And I know I'm not. And I feel like me vocalizing that and hoping that other people can vocalize this too, especially some of my friends who might actually see this video. I say see, but 9 times out of 10, I'm really hoping most people, and you included, are just listening to this in the background as God intended, me included. But the point is, just do your best. Look into videos, and if you really care about wanting to get your grind up, so to speak, as the Sigma males tell me, look into ways that might help you with your productivity. I work at a art store, and I see a lot of people come into the store, and they buy notebooks and day planners, and I remember asking some of them what they usually do with it, and it's just planning out their day, as straight on the tin. Try getting a notebook, a day planner. Sometimes writing down your plan for the day ahead, or just in general, is sometimes enough to just get you going. Having a consistent schedule. That actually helped me out for a short while. I was doing sketches in the morning after I had some coffee and dicked around a little bit, playing games and stuff for a short while. Then after that, I just keep at it. And another small piece of advice I'll give that did help me out a lot is doing small things helps immensely leading into other bigger things. And that's a very important thing that I think a lot of people need to remember, is that, as they always say, Rome was not built in a day. It was built over the course of who knows how long. But you start small, you do the foundation, the blueprinting, and then you start doing the heavy lifting and the bigger ends. So if you want to make a video, or if you want to do art, or if you want to practice art, you start small. I'm not a particularly amazing artist or amazing in any of the things I do, but it sure as hell doesn't stop me from, trying. It sure as hell is nice to start small. Making your bed, making food, cleaning dishes. Starting with something small, even if it's completely unrelated, can sometimes be enough to just get you going. And realistically, that's all you need. You don't need a huge boost. You don't need to get a Zen candle and a million other accessories to get you going. Sometimes the best answer is the most simple solution. So, try not to overthink it, is a big thing I'm trying to say, effectively. Just be productive no matter which way, because typically it tends to lean into itself. So if you want to make that Picasso art piece, start by making your bed. Start small, and make your way to the top. That's my advice for kind of overcoming it, if that makes sense. So, in conclusion, as I checked how long this has been going on for, and we're at the 17-minute mark, roughly. That's not including cuts. I might be close or wrong. Thank you for coming along and listening to me if you've made it this far. I really do truly appreciate that you've come this far. I'm a very small channel. I don't promise anything super crazy by any means, but obviously, I think whenever there's a YouTube channel, there's always something very special about it, no matter how small or how big it is. You're there for a reason, and in a way, being a smaller channel has its own benefits, and I think can even be better. So if you're a very small YouTuber, or somebody who just found this video and they recommended and the title interested you, then thank you for that. And you got this. You do you. Keep doing your best. And always, always, the biggest piece of advice I can give to anybody whenever they ask, always be your kindest friend. Everybody is their harshest critic, but nobody is ever their kindest friend. Because think about it this way. You wouldn't treat yourself like you treat a loved one or a best friend. If you picture how you treat yourself negatively, as if you were treating that to your friend, you would immediately stop. You wouldn't do that to them. And if they don't deserve that treatment, then why do you? It's understandable that we want to be critical of ourselves because we want to improve. We want to be better. If we don't learn to be aware of who we are and our faults, then we can't fix them. But you can't fix them if you're kicking yourself in the shin because you fucked up doing the dishes or you misplaced a line. This is something I'm struggling super heavily to get over. Just absolutely breaking down at the most minor mistake. Well, not breaking down, but, just having my general, vibe ruined because I made a mistake at work that was, in the grand scheme of things, just a very small issue that isn't even gonna last more than, again, 10 minutes. So, it's good to not be critical of yourself for not working, but it is good to be aware. If you ever hear that kind of voice or that thought telling you should maybe do something, make a compromise. Give yourself a treat or do it in a way that might be fun. If you're gonna have to do a sketch, do it on something that interests you. Do it for 5 minutes and make it really shitty. Do something to modify it to make it enjoyable. For example, I do not have the energy to edit a video, even though editing is probably one of my favorite parts and scripting is my least favorite. That's why I do these all unscripted, because I hate typing down my thoughts. That's why I hate writing on shit. I just talk and think. I can't write for the life of me. I despise it with all my might. And as a result, I like to imagine that I can talk unscripted and talk without any real form of guidance pretty well. Not tooting my own horn too much. I've definitely fucked up a couple times, but we'll gloss over that. So, always treat yourself incredibly kind and try to keep an open mind about things. Start small. Once this video comes live, I'm gonna start doing things differently. It's not gonna be grand, and I'm probably gonna fail, but do your absolute best to try and just do what you can. Try not to stress about anything, really. Because 9 times out of 10, it is just not worth the headspace that it takes you to try and get to that point where you are just literally self-sabotaging. Mental health is at an all-time low right now because of all the shit going on in the world, so it's incredibly easy to fall prey to that kind of negativity and to focus on all the bad that's happening in the world, especially if it doesn't even affect you. There are wars going on, there's a lot of awful shit going on. I'm Canadian, so obviously I have that kind of bias of not caring. Or not even not caring, just not something I can do. There's nothing I can really do about what's going on in America with the tariffs and, Trump and all this, that. There's nothing I can do. I'm not a big influencer. I'm not some political figure. I'm not anybody in particular. I am an average Joe who works a 10 to 5, and that's about it. I'm not going to pretend like I'm anything more than that. And I'm happier because of it. I think a lot of people get really caught up in being so self-important or I don't know what the term is, but self-enrightened. Enrightened. Oh my god, the word is on the tip of my tongue and I can't think of it for the life of me, so I'm just gonna move past it. But the point is, just focus on yourself and try to be happier because of it. Try not to stress about all the other problems going on unless they directly affect you, and try not to focus too hard about other people's lives, because you need to focus on your own. Because if you don't, then realistically, you're just not gonna have a good time in any way, shape, or form, like what I am right now. I'm getting my head caved in through 5 vases right now. I am suffering currently. But hey, I'm not gonna worry about the guy who's getting his head smashed in by 50 vases. I'm gonna worry about mine. So, in the final conclusion, because I'm starting to hit the final level here, do your best, and it will be good enough, no matter who it is. So long as it's good enough for you, that's enough. Even if it isn't, if it's not good enough for you, then you need to kindly sit the fuck down, have a cup of tea, and say, you know what? It is, actually. Don't excuse, bad work. Don't excuse being lazy. But if you know in earnest you are trying your best, then that is good enough. It's good to seek validation through others, but it shouldn't be your only source and your only way of obtaining self-fulfillment or self-needs. It shouldn't be your only way of feeling happy and complete and content. You need to be the only one who can do that for you. People are just meant to help supplement it. You can't take, supplements all on their own. You need other things alongside it. You can't just take, vitamin D pills. You need to actually go outside. You need to be happy on your own and to do things that make you, joyful. That's not everyone else's job. That's yours. And don't treat something that takes creative time and work as a job, because then that's going to make it even harder. Just do what you can, and I promise you, it will be good enough. So long as you know that you're doing your absolute best, that's good enough for anybody. Because I clutched so damn hard! Oh my god, that was amazing! Sorry, you need to go back by 10 seconds and peek that. That was amazing. Anyways. Thank you very much for sitting down and hearing a random white, brown hair, glasses-wearing Canadian's thoughts on productivity and creativity. I hope it made some semblance of sense, and I hope it helped you out. I hope this comes to you in a time of need, whether it be now, years from now, wherever. Take care of yourself, and remember, working sucks. Don't fall into a 9-to-5 grind. Is, I think, the general gist of it. You do you, and you do your best. And don't lose sight of your dreams or your passions. Don't be who you want to be. At the end of the day, just be who you need to be. Thank you, and good night. Take care of yourself.